Galvatron, I am here to have a conversation. Ultra Magnus, it's good to see... Wait a minute, you're not Ultra Magnus. You're not even the delivery guy. Yes, I'm Firestorm, and I'm here to introduce you to one of your kids. I don't have any kids. And also, how the hell did you get in here? Blaster's meant to be guarding the door. Blaster, why did you let him in here?
Because, dude, I'm going to off the fight Soundwave.
Yeah, curse you and your gay love with him.
I do not love him, my dude.
Anyway, you said you wanted to introduce me to my child? Yes, let me just go get him. Here's your child, Galvatron. That's not my child. What do you mean? You technically gave life to all of the KSI drones in Age of Extinction, so that does technically make her your child. First off, you willingly watched Age of Extinction, you poor soul. Second off, that was Age of Extinction Galvatron, not me. I'm G1 Galvatron. Hence why I'm doing an attempt for Megatron's voice, since I was him. Not in this universe, you're not. Gosh, you're saying that off screen. Anyway, why'd you bring her here? She's not my child. Mainly so we can record the opening for this video. We're being very meta today, aren't we? Anyway, let's get on to the review. Right away, Widowmaker. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Firestorm Reviews, where today we're looking at Transformers concept art KSI Widow. But I'm just going to call her Widowmaker throughout the video because that's what her original name was, and she had to have a change because of Overwatch's character, Widowmaker. Curse the French sniper, who always picks me off in the back lines as Reaper. Anyway, let's have a look at the box first before we move on to the figure herself. So yeah, her box is really nice for a deluxe figure. We get a beautiful art of the figure here, and I've just been loving what they've been doing with the later figures with this beautiful artwork. Looks like somebody drew it with bare hands as well. We have Transformers Studio Series, Age of Extinction, in my opinion the second worst movie in the franchise. Transformers concept art Widowmaker, KSI Widowmaker, the Decepticon badge. Here we have another image of the beautiful artwork. Age of Extinction there. Boring stuff on the back here. An image of the figure. Image of her vehicle. She takes 17 steps. Which I always feel like they miscount how many steps there are on these figures. A bunch of stuff you can say up here. Age of Extinction, Widowmaker concept art again. And in my opinion, one of the worst images for movie titles that I've seen here. I never liked the way they did this in the movie for the adverts. Yeah. Here we have another image of her with what I'm assuming is the KSI warehouse in the background here. And one thing I gotta say about these new Studio Series figures is we no longer get the backdrops. And those were some of my favorite things about the old figures. I always loved to occasionally take the backdrops out of the boxes and display my figures alongside them. But now that we no longer get them, it's kind of sad. I would have loved if they kept the, sure, these blue things is where the wings and other vehicle body parts have to stick through, but they kept the backdrop in there as well. Anyway, now that we've had a look at the box, let's move on to the figure herself. Here we have Widowmaker herself, and unlike the concept arts that I've seen of her where she's red and black, I gotta say the orange for her works better than anything I've seen before. And it's very rare we actually get orange Transformers. The last ones I can really remember are Battle Trap and Sideways, since they were some of the most recent orange characters I know of. And Sideways isn't really that orange, and he's kind of faded a bit because of how much I've messed with him. So yeah, so glad to have another bright orange character. And plus, I kind of cornered the market on black and red color schemes for the Decepticons right now. Until that traitor Redwing comes and fights me for it. Yeah, she looks very nice. Barely any backpack, but that's mainly because most of the vehicle modes refined to her massive legs, which I actually don't mind. It finally gives us a different thing than just female with big backpack. Yeah. My only complaint about this figure is how loose her legs are. But that's been an issue I've been seeing with a lot of Transformers figures down here in Australia. Their leg joints seem to be the loosest for some reason. I don't know if it's just a problem with figures I get, or if it's a problem with all figures in Australia. My Australian viewers, let me know in the comments below if you've had any issues like this with your newer figures. But her legs still do manage to hold up. But because of how small her heels are, main support areas, it does make it a little tricky for her to keep them up in the air. Her weapons, I gotta say, have the best KSI weapon integration with them so far. Having them actually be able to tab into her arms. Now, this is what I wanted for Transformers a future Ironhide figure. Him with his two cannons strapped to his arms like this. Honestly, I feel like she would be a bit of a boxer and fight a little bit like how Yang does from the show Ruby. Yeah. Her arms feel incredibly small for her body, but then again, her entire torso does feel shorter as well. But it's not really something I complain too much about. It just feels weird when I look at her sometimes. I think it's mainly just because of how long her legs look, in my opinion. Yeah. And one other complaint I have, this is just an issue of mine. Sometimes my one's head just likes to come off there and doesn't like tabbing back in. I'm able to get back in, but it just takes a bit longer for some reason. And yeah, that's all I really want to say about the figure herself. Let's get on to her articulation, and then we'll do some size comparisons. First off, she has a ball joint in the head, which you can see back here with like her dreads. Maybe she was built out of the dreads piece, made out of the dreads. She has a ball joint on the arm, rotation at the upper arm, bend at the elbow. No hand articulation, but that's alright. No waist rotation. She has ball joints on the legs. Her legs can kick out that far and back that far, and you've heard this from a more famous YouTuber. Beautiful spread. We have rotation at the thigh, bend at the knee, and no ankle articulation. So yeah, she doesn't have as much articulation as we would expect from most deluxes these days. Like, compared her to Alita 1 here. Alita 1, despite being in the same size class, has way more articulation than her. But her articulation goes to her vehicle mode, is mainly hold back because of her vehicle mode, which is alright in my case because she has a good vehicle mode and she's still very poseable. But first, on to size comparisons. Here she is next to my other KSI drones. Here she is next to Alita 1, Waspinator, and Black Arachnia. Waiting for an animated version of her, Hasbro. Here she is next to Team Firestorm. And here she is next to Sideways and Vortex. And lastly, here she is next to Serial Designation V. Now, let's move on to her posability. Here we have her pointing and shooting. Here's she doing the box pose she does on the box. Here she is dragging Mega Empress away after a long night of drinking. Here she is beating the scrap out of Dead End, T-posing. And here she is plotting to get Firestorm a present with his two other kids. Now, let's move on to her transformation. Alright, for her transformation, first you're going to want to take off her guns and just set them to the side here. We'll just pop them on the throne for now. Next, you want to come down to her feet and fold them in. And then you turn her around, open up her back legs, and open these all the way out. I can't believe Hasbro could never give us a Studio Series accurate transformation. Can you believe this, guys? Just for clearance, I like to just move these out of the way for now, her doors. Then you just take these, pull them out, and then rotate them down. And same on the other side. And then you take the top of the car and just snap it all together. And you also want to do the same with the other side. That can be a bit tricky sometimes. So yeah, you have it all like this for now. Then I like to push her torso outwards like this, just so I have more clearance. Then you bring back the guns here, and then you see these little tabs here and here. You're going to want to take the gun and slot it in. They can be very tricky to get in though, and when you do get them in, they will fall out again. Trust me, it's happened like so many times when I played with her. There. Nope, one of them came out again. Just get in there. There. Once her guns are in, you're going to want to carefully take her arms and... I'm trying to do it without knocking the guns out. Take her arms and pull them back like this. And just bring these down just to get clearance for the head. Bring it up and make sure this tab goes in that slot here. Then you bring her arms down like so. Then you bring the doors in. And you probably accidentally knock a gun or two loose. Just re-tab it back in. And then you take the hood of the car, bring it down, make sure these tabs go in there. And it can be a bit tricky to line it up, especially with the annoyances of the guns that she has. And there, you have to tab it all in. And then you come to the back of the car and see this part and then fold it down. And there, here is her vehicle mode. And it's a very nicely designed one too. What car is it again? Let me just see. She's whatever brand of car that is. Yeah. So yeah, she's a very nice, sleek car. And is also very rollable. Her wheels actually move when you roll. Sure, a bit of her doesn't like to stay fully tabbed in here. But it doesn't ruin stability. And I will say, these parts here, when you revert her back to robot mode, can be a bit tricky to remove, which does make me worried about the clear plastic parts. So yeah, just be careful when transforming her. And yeah, and of course, the horribleness of all Transformers. Always showing their robot modes underneath the car. And yet, we never will get an accurate transformation for any KSI drone. What a shame. What an absolute shame, Hasbro. You should do better than this. Anyway, let's move on to her size comparisons in the vehicle mode. Alright, first up, here she is next to the KSI drones here. Stinger and KSI Boss. Here she is next to Team Firestorm, minus me, because I can't be transformed without chipping off 90% of my paint. Here she is next to Sideways and Vortex. And lastly, here she is next to V. Now, let's move on to my final thoughts of the figure. So, my final thoughts on Studio Series Widowmaker. She's a great figure. Definitely deserving of the respect that the character has gotten throughout the years. Definitely a great adaptation of the figure. I'm actually happy they didn't go with the very popular concept art design of her and went with one of her other designs. And I also love the whole paint job they went with the figure and everything. Yeah. My only complaint is that she never got her chance to be in the movie. Maybe she could one day get a job, be appearing as a background character in a future movie. Who knows? Maybe she was one of the background miners or Transformers in Transformers 1. We can only hope to know. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Transformers Studio Series Widowmaker. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. And a massive thank you to all my subscribers for supporting me throughout these videos. There's no way I couldn't create these videos without you guys. Now, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.